Gets open for three. Dagger!
Hello and welcome back to Well Beyond the Arc. I'm Montana. This is my co-host David, and we are back as always, bringing you all the basketball news, everything top fives. We got it all today. We are on time. You got us for real. We're making it on time. We're ready to go. We're right on time. You already know. Starting off our first segment of the day, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Getting right into it, a lot has changed since our last episode in the NBA. So, David, I've got to know, bro, what is your good for this episode?
The Timberwolves are on a roll. Currently first in the West. I think 11-3, taking down some of the mighty. How you say the mighty have crumbled. They are the ones that caused them to crumble. You know, their fantastic win against Celtics. Then obviously the Warriors win. So amazing, amazing, good stuff from the organization. Ant is looking dominant. It looks like they have figured out the whole Rudy Gobert and Cat line up together. So I think that's for me, that's my good for this week. Absolute monsters in the organization.
Did your horrible take on the Bucks change? No, it did not. I got to say, my good has to be Kristaps Porzingis's defense in the last 3 games. He's averaging 3+ blocks per game and 1+ steal per game in the last 3 games. He had 6 blocks in his last game. He is playing incredible basketball defensively for the Celtics, and that is a big reason they have that record. A big reason they are the best team in the East. Better than the Bucks. Yeah, they are. The real reason that they're right there is because of his defense. He has added so much defensively. So my good for this week is Kristaps Porzingis, specifically the last 3 games. His defense, he's really rising to the occasion with this Celtics team. What is your bad?
Um, let me go back a bit. I think I made a mistake. Their record is 11-3, it's 10-3. So Boston still has the best record. But my bad, um, obviously the Warriors, and I think we all would take it from there. The Warriors have been looking nasty in the past 3 games, and I think Jay will go into that for we'll go into that for a minute later in the show. So, but I think they have looked absolutely horrible considering the fast start they had to the season. You know, I think they were 6-1 at a point, and then back-to-back losses. I mean, other than the win they had last night, it was really bad. Especially like the win against the loss against OKC. I think that was just demoralizing, and yeah.
That's a good bad. The Warriors, we've got a lot to go into the Warriors. Not that we're targeting them as a team. They just have been a team that has been on the downward spiral the last, especially they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. So they're a team that we're going to have to talk about. But my bad is not the Warriors. It is actually a team that is famous for going head to head in the Warriors and against the Warriors, and that is the Cavs. The Cavs are currently a team where their record isn't the worst, but they have a really bad injury problem, and they currently have 4 players that are officially ruled out and 1 player that is day to day. These are the players that are out for the Cavs: Ricky Rubio, Donovan Mitchell, and several other key players. These are all key assets to this Cavs team, and without them, they are not going to win games. So yes, their record is not terrible. They are not the worst team in the East, but they, with these players out and with them continuing to be out, they'll start to lose more games. So my bad has to be the Cavs and their injury situation this last week. What is your ugly?
My ugly, well, as I say, I'll still have to go back to the Warriors again. The game against the Timberwolves by Draymond Green. I think that whole scuffle between Clay and McDaniels and obviously Draymond Green coming in at Rudy Gobert, I think that was just really ugly. It kind of put a bad picture on the NBA as an organization. The Warriors as the first of the Warriors, and then the NBA as an organization. And I mean, don't get me wrong, no one is really talking about it now. It's all done and dusted. But like when you just look back at it, it's just really leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. You know what I mean? So I think for me, that's my ugly. Yeah.
That's a good ugly. I think for me, the Warriors are a team that they're just not in a good place at this moment, and it's super early in the season. But they've got to change some things around here. This is not going to change. The writing is kind of looking like it's on the wall if they keep this current team. But my ugly has to be the worst team in the West, and that's the Spurs. No, I did not expect the Spurs to do better than what they are doing, but they're on a 9-game losing streak and they're currently comfortably last in the West. And with a star like they've got some, they don't have star power, but they've got a player like Vic. I mean, they've got a rookie that people are saying could be one of the best players ever. They've got a rookie that people are gassing up, and he's having great games, but they're losing those games. Even the games that he's putting up great numbers, they're losing. So the Spurs as an entire team are just the worst team comfortably in the West right now. So they've got to be my ugly. And again, the Warriors, that whole situation, it was ugly. It fits in the ugly category, and it's not a good look. My ugly is my jersey. Well, we'll go into that in a little bit. That's totally fine because I'm not a Toronto guy, but I'm wearing this for a reason. We'll go into that in a little bit though. Stick with the show. We'll go into that. But yeah, my ugly has to be the Spurs because they're not going anywhere good this anytime soon, and so it's unfortunate to see that with the star power that they do potentially have there. But that's good, bad, and ugly for the week. Moving on, we are going to look at the top three and the bottom three teams in both the West and the East, and kind of go into if we think that that's going to remain. So looking at the West, the top three currently is the Timberwolves sitting at 10-3. The Nuggets are in second at 10-3, and the Thunder are in third at 10-4.
The
Of the
West.
three teams, do you think they will all remain in those spots?
Sorry, did you say West? The
Yeah,
West top
sorry, West. Yep, starting with the
West.
West. Starting
Yeah.
with the West, we got Timberwolves in first,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
second, and the Thunder in third. Of these three teams, I know we're talking. Okay, All Star break is a long ways away, bro. We got a lot of basketball. Let's just
Yeah.
say by Christmas, even. Do you think that the Timberwolves will be in first, the Nuggets will be in second, and the Thunder will be in third?
No.
What do you think will happen?
So I think Denver obviously will climb up. I think they've just had some really unfortunate games. I mean, the last was it the last game or the game before that? They Coach Malone got ejected, Jokic got ejected, all that stuff. I mean, I think they still ended up winning the game though. I can't remember, but you just have one of those games where they weren't coming off, as good as they should. People, the shots weren't just falling, maybe off a back to back type of thing. So I think obviously they'll still remain. They are still the best team in the West, like by far, and I think probably the best team in the NBA. So I think they'll still remain first. OKC, I just think is young blood. I mean, they'll probably die down soon. Like I'm not worried about OKC. It's just okay. They have so much energy right now. It's a young group of players. Well, amazing group of players, well coached. Don't get me wrong, amazing organization there. But I just think it's young blood that they'll probably cool down, maybe All Star break, and Minnesota. This is about Timberwolves, and I had them at my good, but I still think that they are still a team that yeah they can go on this amazing run, but then they'll also go the opposite direction to like have like 7 games losing streak or something like that. So I just don't see them being top three, top six, maybe playoff first round. That's it, but as of now, it's looking all sunny and roses up there, but you know.
No, and I'm with you. Honestly, it's such an interesting top three, bro. Did you expect this when opening night set in? Did you expect to see this top three? Because I did not.
No, 100% no. Like top three West. I mean, I'm not gonna be wrong. The West is a really competitive um conference, right? But like when you think about the top three, you have to like, okay, Denver is there. When Dallas was there, Dallas even made more sense because obviously, and then you expect Phoenix, you expect Warriors, even the Kings. The Kings should still be, they still have like up in there, but it's an interesting top three, but it's just
It's different. It's not what I expected. I mean, it's going to change, but like you said, Nuggets, they're a team that we both could have probably guessed they'd probably be in this spot, coming in hot from a chip, and just with the star power of Jokic and Murray, and just the depth that team still has, even after losing a couple pieces in the offseason, they're going to be up here. But I think they're going to climb. I think they'll be the first team in the West by Christmas. I think they'll be the first team in the West by All-Star break, even. But the Timberwolves. Someone in our comments said that Rudy was a really bad trade. Yeah, Rudy is still one of the worst trades in NBA history. They'll come back down to earth. I agree with you. The Timberwolves will absolutely come back down to earth. Will they be a team that'll be below a play-in spot? No, I still think they'll be a 6th to 8th or ninth spot, but they're not going to be
exactly.
first. They're not going to stay in first, and they're not going to stay in the top three. But I've got the Thunder. If everyone stays healthy, if all the pieces stay in play, I've got the Thunder absolutely staying in the top three. But the team that I think is going to move up is the Mavs. I think we're going to see Nuggets first, Mavs second, and OKC third. I think that is going to be our top three in the West by Christmas. The Mavs, someone in our comments said Mavs are going to the finals. They very well could. They might need a little more depth if they want to do that, but they're looking pretty hot right now with who they have. So Mavs are going to be a team that absolutely moves up. Looking at the bottom three teams, Grizzlies are 13th at 3-10, Trailblazers 3-10 at 14th, and Spurs 3-11 at 15th. Honestly, Spurs and Trailblazers are going to stay down there, but I think the Grizzlies will find their way back up. I do think they'll not stay. You don't think so? You think they'll
No,
stay? You
no.
think they'll
I
stay?
just I just think, and I've been watching them play without. I've watched like obviously their game against Lakers and just a few games here and there. They just don't look. And you know what? Maybe it's like the whole without Ja. But I don't think even when Ja comes back, I just don't think. I think it will be too late. Like, no, it's 25 games missed. They are 3-10. So we're talking 25 games. They'll probably be what, maybe like 4 and something or something like that. But like I just don't see them. Like, don't get me wrong, Desmond Bain is dropping numbers, but they're still losing. So where the- it doesn't look like the supporting cast is that good enough to carry them. And don't
No.
get me wrong, Marcus Smart obviously is injured, but I just don't think he fits there. Like I watched him for the first few minutes before he got injured against the Lakers. I just don't think that's where he should be. And obviously they have Derrick Rose and stuff, but
I get
obviously
no.
everyone.
It doesn't look right. Doesn't it feel like it doesn't fit? It doesn't. The last Memphis team fit together like puzzle pieces, and it worked. This does not feel like that.
Exactly. So like you look at it and you're like, okay. I mean, it's obviously weird to see them down there, like 13th in the West. Obviously, for the past 3 years, they have been a powerhouse up in the West, causing trouble for like a lot of organizations. But like right now, it looks weird, but then it still feels right because of how everything doesn't just fit together. And I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe they can go pushing for that playing, but I just don't see them. I won't realistically say I see them going beyond. You know what I mean? So
No, that's fair. I don't think they'll. I don't even think they're guaranteed a play-in spot, but I don't think they'll remain in the 13th spot. I do think they could maybe work their way above a team like the Jazz. I think the Jazz are going to end up in the 13th because the Jazz look terrible. Like the Jazz are not a team that are doing anything this year. Last year they started hot and then fizzled out. This year they're just starting fizzled out. So the Jazz are a team that I think might end up replacing the Grizzlies. But looking at the East, the top three in the East, number one is the Celtics at 11-3. Number two is the 76ers at 10-3. And number three is the Bucks at 10-4. I think this top three is going to remain the same, but I do think the Bucks will swap places and end up second behind the Celtics. I've got it being Celtics first, Bucks second, and 76ers third. Probably for most of the season, the year. The only team that might shake that up is the Heat, but I don't think they're. I think these are the three teams that are going to remain dominant in the East throughout the whole season.
100%, yeah, I agree with that. I said exactly what you said. I just think those two spots will switch, Philly and Milwaukee. I just think Bucks will probably figure it out as always. Philly doesn't just have the depth to go all the way. Like, I don't get me wrong, they're playing amazing basketball. They don't just have this squad depth. And Boston, well, Boston is just Boston. No one's changing anything there. Probably finish with the best record in the NBA, maybe. But I still see them as the second best team in the NBA behind the Denver Nuggets. So 100% agree with that. Not it's not. I don't see it changing. Just positions changing. But if it does change, it would be interesting if Miami, looks like they are not doing their usuals. Starting slow and then towards playoff they come blazing. So it looks interesting from Miami's point of view. So yeah,
Yeah. I agree. I definitely think first of all, last week you guys said the Bucks are cheeks. I want to address that really quick. We're not gonna last week we never said the Bucks were cheeks. I think we said the Bucks were not better than the Celtics. I'm pretty sure that's what we said. And so if you go back and watch the episode and watch it back through, oh, he didn't mute me. Okay. He only muted you, just not he didn't mute me. So, anyways, if you go back and watch the episode through, you'll see that we didn't call them cheeks. We just said the Celtics are a better team. Looking at the bottom three, in the East. We've got the Hornets at 4-9, the Wizards at 2-11, the Pistons at 2-13. I'm not going to waste any of the minutes of our show. This bottom three is probably going to remain the same because these three teams are trash.
Do you know what? Do you know what's surprising though? Detroit. Detroit is surprising considering who their who the general coach is, like the
I
main
know.
man is Monty Williams. You expect him obviously taking Suns to the conference finals. You expect him to like l- lift that organization up, just like the Rockets. The Rockets obviously they got a great ass coach up there with Ime Udoka, so you expect maybe that should be the same thing with Detroit. But Detroit are just looking really nasty though.
They've got some injury stuff a little bit. They've got the injury bugs gone on, but even without that, they're just not a well-built team. But they've
No,
got the coach. That's the thing. You think that they would be able to figure it out, but so far they have not. But unfortunately, it does not look like that is going to change. Who knows? Maybe something could change. I guess if there's one team that I would say it might change with, it's the Hornets, but I wouldn't even say the Hornets it'll change for at this point. They don't look like a team that's going to get anything done this year.
yeah, the Hornets are just. I mean, don't get me wrong. Lamelo is playing amazing basketball, so I don't know. And the Bulls aren't also playing amazing basketball, so I don't know. Maybe they could switch. That's what I could see that happening. But maybe trade dead before the trade deadline, something will happen, and we don't know. But as I 100% agree with you, I don't see that changing even a bit. So
Well, you know what, man? I think it's time we go right into our Warriors segment of the show. I hope
hundred
our
percent.
Warriors fans are still on, ready to comment and ready to come alive in the chat because it's about to get excited, and I can already tell. But we're going to go into the Warriors because the Warriors are a team that is historic and storied and one of the most successful teams in the last 10, 15 years. They have been extremely successful in the regular season, in the finals, breaking records, staying consistent, regular playoff appearances. I want to give all credit where credit is due to the Golden State Warriors because they are a team that has been one of the best teams in the last 20 years. You got to put them up there with a team like the Lakers that went three-peat. You've got to put them with teams like that and dynasties like that because that's who they are.
Yeah.
Well, that's who they were because they are currently not sitting that well. And yes, they won last night against Houston by what, 5 points? That's not that good of, come on now. But they are currently 3-7 in their last 10 games. So for me, and probably for you and any fan, especially a Warriors fan, it should be obvious something needs to change if they even want to secure a playoff spot this year. Not a Western Conference final spot, not a final spot, a playoff spot. What do you think the Warriors need to do to get out of the slump they are in? Does it have to do with the players, the coach? What does it have to do with the fouls? What does it have to do with the injuries? What do you when you look at the Warriors, what do you think they need to change to turn this thing around before it's too late?
First, three things. I have three things to help them go. First off, Draymond Green has to get his stuff together. He's the heart. As so, I saw someone in the comments saying he's the heart of the team. He's the heart of the team. If he's nowhere near where he needs to be, the team goes nowhere. It's that simple. Curry can have like 30 games, 30-point games, 30, whatever. He can have all those big games. But if Draymond isn't there to lead this team, they are not going anywhere. That's my first one. Secondly, Clay has to also get his shit together too, because when Clay has been shooting really poorly, and I don't know if it's because of the contract talks that has just pushed him down, whatever. I just think he's been shooting really bad. Clay has had really bad games lately. Shooting his 3-point shooting have just been bad. And don't get me wrong, yeah, we're not going to count them out early. We're just saying what can they do to fix them out? You get what I mean? And then the third thing is they need a big lineup. I think they play too small too many times, which causes a lot of fouls. As you said, is it too many fouls? They have a small lineup that when they play against the big boys, we saw that against the Lakers when the Lakers went big, they couldn't really match up with them. So
Body.
most of the time when they are playing, it's just too small and teams just literally go through them a bit. So I like that tattoo. It's crazy.
Bro.
It's crazy, though. So I think those are three things. First off, Draymond is out of the team. He needs to get his stuff together. Clay needs his head to come back. Yesterday he looked good, 20 points. I didn't watch the game, so I can't tell you much about it, but he looked good, 20 points. And then thirdly, they need a big man. And we obviously know there are good big men out there. And when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, not really offensive. When it comes to the defensive side of the ball, there are good big men out there. So if they can go get him for a 1 year on a 1 year deal, just to propel this club maybe to one more championship before they dismantle them, I think definitely that would be good for them. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely am with you. Draymond Green has to figure it out because someone in the comments said he's the heart of the Warriors, and I agree with you. A player that gives their all like that and is the energy and that mind has that mindset is a big factor in that. But a big thing for me is now he's more of a distraction. Now he's not putting up the stats he was, and he's doing useless fouls and just starting fights and causing problems. Not only for people forget the Jordan Poole when he punched his own teammate. There's all these different. I mean, Draymond Green, as much as he is the heart of the Warriors, now he's more of a distraction. So he has to figure it out. But for me, I think it's time to look into trading. I think it's time to look into making big moves. You're keeping Steph Curry, obviously. You're keeping Chris Paul even. It doesn't make sense to move on from Chris Paul. Does it make sense to move on from Klay Thompson? Not exactly, but it makes a little more sense when he just dropped 20 points for the first time last night this season. That was his first 20-point game of the season. Klay Thompson is averaging stats that he averaged in his first 2 seasons. His scoring numbers are going down to year 1 and 2 Klay. It may be time to look into moving on from him while he still has that trade value. Another player you could look into moving on from is Andrew Wiggins. Yes, they've paid a lot for Andrew Wiggins. Yes, he helped them win a championship, but there is very much a argument that can be made about a trade package with Klay Thompson and Wiggins, or just one of them, to get a player like maybe a Pascal Siakam. Hey guys, you know why I'm wearing a Toronto Raptors jersey? Because this is Klay Thompson's next home. The Toronto Raptors. I'm calling it right now. Okay, let me backtrack. Andrew Wiggins or Andrew Wiggins makes the most sense. Andrew Wiggins
yeah,
makes perfect sense to go to Canada. But what I'm going to say is this: before the trade deadline, Andrew Wiggins or Klay Thompson or both are going to be wearing a Toronto Raptors jersey, and we are going to see Pascal Siakam as a Golden State Warrior. Or alternatively, there are so many different other trade scenarios. But like you said, the Warriors need to get big. They are way too small. And if they were small and Klay was dropping 30 plus points a game, then this would be a different story. But Klay is dropping 10, 12, 14, maybe 20 on a good night. That is not the Klay Thompson that they need. Andrew Wiggins has his nights, but he's been inconsistent since after the chip. Even I know he had some other stuff going on last season. There's all these different things that could be going on, but he has not been consistent since the chip. So if there are two players that have trade value at this moment that I think the Warriors should look into moving on from if they can't figure it out within the next few months, it's Klay Thompson and it's Andrew Wiggins. And maybe they don't get Siakam. But Siakam is a player where it makes perfect sense. He is in a situation they're not going anywhere. The Toronto Raptors won a chip and that was it. I don't know. I'm saying that Klay might. And honestly, another thing is Klay going to a different team might be better for his career as well. Another thing for me, Andrew Wiggins, whatever. I don't know about that. But Klay Thompson, I think it's time that he goes to a different team and finds his own identity and moves on and does his own thing. I think that's what he needs.
yeah,
So for me, I think Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins might be suiting up for the Raptors, one or both. Either way, I do think the Warriors, the thing that they need to do to figure this thing out, they need to add height. They do not have depth in their power forward or their center position. And with Draymond Green not doing what Draymond Green used to do for that team and also being out, he doesn't, you want to know what it is? He doesn't want to play when Steph Curry is injured. Draymond Green got himself out of the games, got himself a nice little vacation because Steph Curry was out for a couple games. He's done this before. And by the way, we'll be talking about Draymond Green a little bit later in the show. He might be in with our top 5, our top of the hour 5 today. So think about what that might be. Connect the dots on that one because Draymond Green is definitely on my list today. So, but no, I think it's obvious that it's time for the Warriors to do something different because what they are trying to do is not working. And again, if they were winning games with this small ball lineup, it'd be a different story. They wouldn't
100%.
make it far in the playoffs because I'm going to say it right now. Small ball cannot win you a chip. It can win you regular season games. It cannot win you a chip. But they're not even winning the small ball line with their small ball. So they've got to figure it out. And I think it's got to be trades.
Yeah, definitely. And you know they have to figure it out soon because this call is pretty much this is it. Is pretty much win or bust, I think, at this season. I think it's like if they don't go where they expect them to go, and I'm not even saying championship, what I'm talking about, maybe like conference final or something like that. I think if they don't go to that point, is boss, they dismantle everything and just try and start from scratch type of thing. But so they do need to figure it out, and maybe they will. And you can't count out Golden State because it's just Curry is there. Like it's just Curry. If Curry wasn't there, it would have been a different story. But like Curry is there, so you can't necessarily like just count them out and say, oh, they are not making like the playoffs and stuff. So I won't count our Warriors. Yeah, they just have to figure out their stuff. And Steve Kerr is an amazing coach, future Hall of Fame coach. So definitely hopefully they'll figure their stuff out. So
No, like you said, they've got a good just with Curry and Kerr, just with those two guys, they can figure it out. I want to pull up a comment about their championship, some of their championships that was just said about Golden State and small ball. I don't agree that small ball won Golden State a few rings. I don't maybe small ball might have won them one championship ring as in their last one, but I don't think that I wouldn't consider them a small ball team when they had Durant and when they had during that dynasty.
no, I mean I think the only time you can say they played small ball and they got away with it was against Boston. But looking at Boston, look at the Boston team too. They are all small players too.
Exactly. It was small
So
ball versus small ball.
like it was exactly so like it's not nothing's going on there. So small ball, small though, yeah, you can say small ball won them chip, but they were playing fellow small. You can't tell them if they played um Milwaukee or who was the team in that year 2022, I can't remember, but if they played Milwaukee that year or another team, they wouldn't have won. They would not have won because you
Yeah.
can't play the box with a small lineup. They will
They got
absolutely beat
lucky
you
by
up.
playing the Celtics. They got the luck
Exactly.
of the draw with that one. But so small ball won them one championship. We can agree that it won them one potentially, and
Just
that was
one.
that one. But it did not. And someone said KD plays small. Come on now. Come on now,
KD,
bro.
he's not small, bro. He's like what
KD plays small.
six
That's
six
his most.
seven? No, not 6'7", 7'1" or something like that. Listed him
He's
as
huge. He does
bro.
not play small. If
Uh,
even if KD played small, he would. That's not no. Come on now. For a Warriors fan, I don't think you watched those championship seasons because it was definitely not small ball. Anyways, but no, we both agree the Warriors need to make moves. A comment said that they think Clay will go to a team such as the Celtics, the Bucks, a team or the Heat. I think that it makes sense, but I just don't see a trade coming from any of those three teams for him at this
exactly.
point. I
And
don't
it's not.
know who they'd give up for him. I don't think those teams would. I think a team like the Raptors that have stars but aren't doing anything with them makes much more sense than a team like the Heat, Celtics, or the Bucks giving anybody up. But what do you think? Do you think he could go any of those teams?
No, his stock isn't that high. I'm sorry, his stock is just not that high. Like this season, his I even if you look at like from the playoffs last year, he wasn't shooting that great. So if you look at all those things, those teams you are calling are teams that want to win the chip right now. They are not going to give up any of their assets when they know that okay, we have people that might believe in. I don't know if you get what I mean, but like they're not going to give up those assets in for someone that isn't shooting the ball that well. Like don't get me wrong, he has championship experience, but Celtics, Bucks, no. Nah, Miami won't. Miami doesn't even have any asset to give. Like, is it picks you want to give the Warriors? What do the Warriors want to do with picks? They too are a win now organization. They are not like the Blazers or like Spurs that like want to build for the future. So yeah, no,
No, for sure. I mean, it's for me, it's Clay Thompson's stock, like you said, is not that high, and a team like the Celtics, Bucks, I mean, and any of those teams that are within the top three or four teams in the conference are probably not going to go for him, even with his championship experience and what he gives to the table. He's not really, we haven't seen that for a couple of seasons. Arguably, we haven't seen that in like 3 or 4 seasons. So it's hard to believe a contending team is going to take a big risk by giving up some pieces for that. But you never know. And again, the Warriors might figure it out with who they have, even if they, again, another thing they could do is go the free agency route. They could sign a veteran big man. They could not even part with any of their key pieces and try to just gain something from free agency or from trading some of their younger players. So we definitely will see the Warriors do something. They're not going to remain where they are. I definitely think they will be at least a play-in team, but in order to be a lock for that, they have to move something around. They've got to change something because it's not working with what they have. So it's time to see what else they can do. But I do think they're a team that will do that. They'll react. They won't wait until they're losing 20, 30 games in a row. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, 100%,
And with
100%.
Steph Curry, I mean, come on, even just Curry, that's a guy that can just win you games by himself. So
Yeah.
they'll be fine. They'll win some games while they're figuring it out. But they should. For our Warriors fans that are watching or listening, you don't have to worry about them missing the playoffs because I think they'll be fine. But for now, they're not looking too great. But that win on against Houston was good. And again, that was Klay Thompson's best game of the season. So maybe this is a turning point for him. Maybe next episode, we'll be talking Klay Thompson is dropping 30, 40, 50. He's going off. We'll see. I highly doubt that, but we'll see. Moving on, our next segment, we will go through this a lot during the show and during the season because there's just so much of the season, and this list will probably be one of our lists that changes the most, and that is our top 3 MVP list. We're super early. We're under 2 months in the season. We're under 30 games in the season. I mean, it's early. This list could look way different in a week, in 2 weeks. It changes all the time. But we are going to be looking at our top 3 current MVP list. We'll go from 3 to 1. Starting with 3, I've got Luca. Luca is playing extremely well. He's currently averaging 30 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds, as well as 1.1 steals per game and zero point 0.8 blocks. Luca's always been a player that's both sides of the ball dominant, and he is one of the, I mean, if not the best point guard, if not the best guard, he is one of the best guards in the league. I would honestly say at this point, top to bottom, he's the best guard overall. I'm not saying he's the best shooting because Curry has that. Yeah, go Mavs. I'm just trying to get on your guys' good side with this take. No, I do think that Luca absolutely is my number 3 pick right now, and I think he'll remain in that top 3 talk, top 5 talk the whole season. Because if we remember, he was in that talk last season. He only fell out when they fell out of the playoffs. Towards the end of the season, when that Mavs team crumbled, his stock crumbled too. To be a player that's considered seriously in the MVP talk, you have to be a part of a team that's actually winning games, and the Mavs were not winning games. So Luka was going off the whole season and was in that MVP talk until the end. But I think he'll remain there because I don't think the Mavs will be in that spot. So he's my number 3. He's going off on both sides of the ball. Who's your number 3 currently?
I have to go with Jason Tatum. Um, Going with Jason Tatum. I think he's just dropping insane numbers. I have nothing to say too much on that. I just think he's and if I 100% think if there was no one called like Jokic or Embiid or what's his name Giannis, I think he'll probably be somewhere up there. Like last year, he would have probably 100% been top. So I think right now he's playing absolute basketball, like dropping 30 pieces pretty much every game. So I think he's the reason why Boston are the way and obviously they have the Perzingas and all those guys there, but I just think without him. I mean, they literally won a game without Porzingis and Jalen Brown, but I think if they are without Jason Tatum, they're not winning any game. So number 3, Jason Tatum.
He definitely is the difference maker for that Celtics team, and he has been the difference maker throughout the last. I mean, well, the whole time he's been on that team, even when they weren't as good of a team, Jason Tatum has been. Without him, they really don't look like they're as good of a team without. He's the difference maker all the time, even when they've had so even when they had the Kyrie Irvings, all these players that people thought were going to be difference makers, Jason Tatum has been that guy the whole time. So that's a good pick. He's definitely in my top 5. He's currently just right outside of my 3, but that's a good call. Moving on to number 2, I've got to go with the Joker. And maybe people will be shocked that he's not my number 1, but Joker's playing great ball. He's dropping 27 points a game, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists. But for me, I'm not going to say Joker lacks defense because he absolutely can make a difference defensively. But the player I have sitting at 1 is just making a little bit of a bigger difference on the defensive side. But Joker's playing incredible ball. And this dude has been in the MVP talk consistently the last like 5 seasons without fail. He never skips a beat. He is always one of the top players averaging for points, rebounds, and assists in the league every single season. So shout out to the Joker. He's not my number 1 pick, but it's really close. He definitely is my number 2, and he's comfortably my number 2. What about you, bro? Who's number
Yeah,
2 on the list?
Jokic is, and I think the reason, yeah, same reason you gave, the reason why he's not number one is just because he's defensively he's not that dominant. You know what I mean? Like I talk him, he's a walking triple double. Like he does it freely with ease. Like he doesn't even stress to do it. Like it just comes naturally. Like when you literally watching me, I'm like, this dude doesn't do nothing. He just stands and just throws the ball and it goes, it goes in. So offensively, he's a monster on there. But like defensively, obviously he's big, his presence is felt, but he tries, but he doesn't just try. So, you know, that's definitely he's definitely that's why I put him as number 2. I definitely maybe as we go in the season, and records also affect stuff, things like that. So we'll see who's going, we'll see who we have. So yeah.
We got a lot of people saying Giannis is 1. Giannis is 1. Well, I will say this. Giannis is playing really good basketball this season, but Giannis is not my number 1. My number 1 has to be Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid for me is playing all around basketball on both sides of the ball. He's currently averaging over 30 points a game, 11 rebounds a game, throw on 1.5 blocks per game. A lot of people might go against this take, but for me, I've got to give it to Joel Embiid because he is playing phenomenal basketball and the 76ers are winning. The MVP race, as much as it is a race about how a player is doing, how a player's team is doing is extremely important. And while they're not, yeah, okay, mute me. Yeah, that's fine. Go for it. While they're not currently the top team in the East, losing Harden, having everything go on that they've had, and still being a top 3 team, that is because of Joel Embiid and his elite playing. So I've got to give it to Joel Embiid. He is my number 1. I do not think he is going to win MVP, but if he was if the award was done right now, for me, it'd be Joel Embiid would be winning it because he's putting up numbers defensively and he is scoring, going off offensively. So that's my number 1. I assume we
Yeah.
don't have the same one.
No. Um no. See, I thought about Joel Embiid and I'm like, he's just inconsistent. I mean, I don't say he's inconsistent, but like he just has a game, those games where you're like, bro is meant to be dropping 30 on these guys.
He's soft.
He's
He is
dropping
soft.
20. Like exactly, like he's
Agreed.
meant
I agree he's soft. He is
he's
soft.
meant exactly he's meant to be dropping 30 every game. Like I can't
Yeah.
remember the game it was, and I'm like, I'm watching the game and I'm like, this dude is meant to be dropping 30 on these guys, and
Mhm.
he's literally dropping 20. I'm like, so for me, I think there are days he has those highs, and then there are just some days he has like he's just missing. You know what I mean? So I looked at it and I was like, yeah, they are winning, they have like the best record, but I just think for him it's just uh it's not the inconsistency is not bad, compared to what like Anthony Davis and stuff, but it's just not, yeah. But my number one obviously is Giannis. And I just Giannis has just been dominant, like both ends on the floor. Bro is just blocking shots, making shots, carrying the box on his back. I 100% think without Giannis, Bucks wouldn't be where they are. And don't get me wrong, Dame is amazing, but I just think Giannis is the glue that fits all those pieces together. Without him, they'll just not be it. So yeah, Giannis 100%. I think Giannis too is also dropping about 30 points, 30 plus points a game. So 100%. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah. So Giannis definitely. Um, let me just be sure. Let me make sure on this because I don't want to like quote wrongly. I'm 100% sure he's dropped about 30 because he's dropping 40 points for like the past like 3 games. So oh yeah, 30.2. So he's dropping 30.2 points a game. So 100% shooting the ball real well. So I can't take anything from him. So
No, he's playing
def-
well. I agree. I definitely think Giannis. If I was picking a player that I would put more on actually winning the award at the end of the season, I'd say Giannis would be a better bet. As in, yeah, Joel Embiid is soft, and he does not put up numbers that he should, especially against matchups. You'll watch certain matchups and you'll be like, how is he not have 35 to 40 points? How is he not going off? So Joel Embiid is inconsistent and he is soft. But for me currently, he is that front runner. But again, Giannis is a great pick, and we will revisit these lists throughout the season and throughout the show because we'll have plenty more changes that will happen. There are so many other players that we could throw in within just a top 10 for MVP because there's just a lot of talent and a lot of big numbers going around right now. So we will absolutely revisit. Steph is always MVP. He's most well. You know what? I will say he is one of those players that will win you games no matter what. So like LeBron, there's a select few that are consistent MVPs for their teams because they can help win games. So that's a good take. Moving on, the trade deadline's a ways away. We're gonna just throw around a couple of names that have been confirmed in talks for trades. Two of them are Bulls. One of them is a Washington Wizards. All three of them are part of teams that are not playing that well currently. And so the likelihood of these happening seems like it could very well happen because all three of these teams are currently looking like they're going to miss the play-in and the playoffs and not even string together a couple of wins in a row. So it's not looking too good for those teams right now. But the players that are in question that have came up in trade rumors for the deadline or before the deadline are Jordan Poole, who is currently a Washington Wizard. The Washington Wizards, if you were watching earlier, are currently one of the bottom three teams in the East. They are not looking good. They were hoping that pairing Poole and Kuzma up would be explosive. It's not working out so far. So Poole has been rumored in a trade to Miami, and it's just a rumor at the moment. But when we talk about this, before we go into the other two players, when you think about Jordan Poole to Miami, despite what that would be with who they'd be getting back, do you think Miami obtaining Jordan Poole would be a key piece to boosting them in the East, or do you think it would just be a waste of a pickup?
see the thing with Poole, right? He's an amazing player. Like I won't say world class because that's just nasty, but he's an amazing player. He knows how to play the game. Good point guard, can shoot the ball. But the problem he looks like he lives for the spotlight. Like he doesn't play for the team. He has his moment. He picks his moments on when to shine, if you get what I mean. And maybe he's soft could be it, but like he just picks his moment on when to shine. He's so inconsistent. Like I was looking at stats, like last night he dropped, I think was it 20 or 30, and then I think the previous game he had like 8 points or 0. But I can't remember what the stat was. But he just looks so he has looked so I mean, you expect that in a Washington team he should be the star, right? But it's like he picks his moment to be the star. He's not the star always. So I think Miami picking him up would be nasty. I don't think it's work out because he's a very ball dominant player, and him without the ball, I don't see the use of. If he doesn't have the ball, he's literally not useful. He doesn't play defense. So I think Miami that you have Jimmy has to have the ball. Bam has to have the ball. Kyle Lowry when he's on the court has to have the ball. Tyler Hero has to have the ball. When you look at all those names and you're like, okay, you want to add a fifth top ball dominant player into the mix. No, I think it'd be worthless. He should just stay there and try and get his head back into it. He's meant to be the star of that team. Forget Kuzma. Kuzma is who Kuzma is. Kuzma is not meant to be a star. Poole is meant to be that guy. It's meant to be him. You know what I mean? So
Agree. No,
it sh-
bro. He is. I think Washington could be a spot where he has like his James Harden type of breakout, like as a star. Like I think that it could be his spot. I hope they don't trade him. That it wouldn't make sense to do that this quick. It seems like they would be jumping the gun if that rumor has any truth to it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And Miami wouldn't go for that, I don't think. I think on Miami's side, one player that'd be rumored in the trade would be Tyler Hero. And Tyler Hero balls out for Miami. And even though he's not the most consistent and he has a couple of injuries from time to time, he is still one of the best players on the Heat, and he shows up, especially in the playoffs. So I don't think the Heat would part with Tyler Hero. And so that does not make sense. But then moving over to two Chicago Bulls players that have both been, now this is like more than just a rumor. This has been a rumor for the last couple of seasons of these two players moving, but now this has been very much almost confirmed, as I would say, happening no matter who it is to. That would be Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso for the Chicago Bulls. These are two players that are rumored to be potentially on the move, and they are connected to the same three teams that I have seen, at least, and that is the Miami Heat, the 76ers, and the Lakers. First of all, I would love to have Caruso back on the Lakers, and I would also love to have LaVine, but I do wonder if we would. I do think that if we're going to go for one, Caruso's a more likely option, because I don't think we want to give up what we would have to give up for LaVine. And I also don't know for sure if LaVine would add as much to our team as Caruso would. Caruso has already, we've seen what Caruso can do for the Lakers. He's added so much to teams for us. So I think Caruso makes the most sense. But when we're talking about Zach, I think Miami or Philadelphia make perfect sense. Those two teams are teams that need that star piece. They need that last piece for their team. So I think we'll see Zach end up in Miami. I think we'll see Zach in Miami and Caruso in LA. That's what I think is going to happen. What about you?
Zach should 100% go to Sixers. I think him and Joel Embiid and Maxi, because he's a player that doesn't necessarily need the ball. Just give him the ball at the right spots, and he'll do what he does. Be it shooting the three or going for a reverse windmill, he'll do it for you. So just give him the ball. Caruso, absolutely love him on the Lakers. Imagine a closing lineup with LeBron, AD, Vanderbilt, either Vanderbilt or Cam Reddish, and then Reeves and Caruso. Oh, that would be like a closing lineup that you have buckets there, you have defense, absolute defense. Like Reeves and Caruso make that backcourt be, oh no, that would be crazy. So 100% Caruso to the Lakers. I would 100% love that. I don't know what we'll have to give up for that. I really don't want to give up a D'Lo or a Rui or a Cam Reddish for that. I don't know, or even a Vanderbilt. I don't want to give up any of those guys just to get Caruso. If you get what I mean. So
See, it's what would we give up? I guess for me, it's like Austin Reeves is not going to be put up in a trade. If anything, if we gave up anything, I mean, it would have to be one of our younger pieces, like a Christie, like a Max Christie. It would have to be a younger piece, and I don't know if the Bulls would go for that. But since they are in rebuild mode, Caruso for a younger piece of ours, and then maybe one of our role players, I think they would go for that. If they're really trying to rebuild, I think they would take a younger player from the Lakers and then a role player. So I do think the Lakers could figure it out and not give up a Reeves or give up a Hachimura or give up one of their main pieces. But again, I really like your take on Zach to 76ers. I think that'd be the perfect matchup for Embiid, and that would really give them a little more legitimacy. But I really think that we are going to see those players on the move. The Bulls have tried that experiment. It didn't work. It's no one's fault. Injuries got in the way, other things got in the way, but it is time for that to be done and for those players to move on. And it's time for Chicago to rebuild. I think
exactly.
anyone can agree, even if you're not a Bulls fan, it's time for Chicago to rebuild. And those are players that will not help with that rebuild. So it's time to see what we can do. I know we're both, as Lakers fans, we're both hoping they'll, especially again Caruso especially. Zach doesn't make a lot of sense for our team, both on the court and just with what we'd have to give up. But Alex Caruso, I mean, that would boost us a lot. in a lot of ways. So let's hope that happens. But anyways, that brings us to our final segment of the show. It is time for our top of the hour five. And in honor of Draymond Green, I know I said Draymond Green would come back up, and I'm a man of my word. In honor of Draymond Green, today's top of the hour, top five, is the top five dirtiest NBA players in history. And yes, we're talking fouls, we're talking fights, we're talking anything you can think of where a player would get thrown out or would miss some time. We're talking all that today. So we're talking about the players that you think of, maybe less for the stats they put up on the court, but maybe it's more for the fights or for the fouls that they put up on the court. What I will say is respect to every one of these players because every single player on my list is an NBA champion. So there is something to be said for that guy that gets out and plays a little dirty, I guess. All five of my guys are champions, so maybe there's a pattern going on here. But going through our list, bro, let me hear who is your number five for top five dirtiest NBA players.
But number five, obviously, is um Draymond. And I know it sounds weird, but he's really not that dirty in terms of what we think of dirty, and that's why I haven't. He's dirty, right? But he's not what we think of it. Like when we go a higher up here, is it? Because other than the obviously grabbing Rudy Gobert's neck, all the other things, punching pull. If that wasn't leaked, probably wouldn't have known he did something like that. And that's not on a court type of situation, so I don't think we should count that. So when you look at other than obviously grabbing Gobert, the only next thing you can think of, oh, LeBron stuff where he grabbed LeBron and maybe Sabonis when he grabbed Sabonis also. So those are the only two things you can really associate with him in terms of nasty. So yeah, he does know how to play dirty. He talks a lot of trash sometimes too, and he does give out some really bad fouls also. So I think that's why I have him as number five. Just because when you look at his resume, people just make it out like to be he's 130, but I actually don't think he's as dirty as people make him look. If you get what I mean. So
No, that's a good pick. He definitely is on my list. He's a little bit higher, but that's a great pick. But my number five is absolutely another Golden State Warrior, and that is Zaza Pachulia. He is part of the
uh,
Warriors dynasty, but he averaged more dirty plays than anything else while he was a Warrior. During his path to reaching a championship with the Warriors, he landed under Kawhi Leonard's leg, jumped on top of Russell Westbrook, and stiff armed Luke Babbitt. That was in one campaign to get to a championship. This man plays dirty basketball. If you look up Zaza Pachulia highlights, you will see more highlights of him injuring players and then acting completely. He's also really good at acting. He'll be like, "No, I didn't." What? He's really good at acting. So not only is he great at really awful, dirty plays and changing the flow of a game, he will also act like he did absolutely nothing afterwards. So that's got to be my number five, bro. It's for his acting skills and for his injuring skills because he had both out there when he was a Warrior. Man, he was making people mad. That's for sure.
yeah, definitely, and that's why he's my number four.
Oh,
That's why he's my
perfect.
number four. Um, I when I was going through this, and I was like, okay, I remember him, and I'm like, bro was actually really dirty. Like bro was just doing some really weird ass stuff. And obviously, yeah, credit to him, NBA championship, NBA champion. So credit to him, number four, Zaja Pachulia. Yeah, so definitely we agree with that. So number four is my number four.
Absolutely. My number four is throwing it back to the 80s and 90s with Rick Mahorn, part of the Pistons bad boys, one of the leaders on and off the court, especially defensively. Mahorn is also a player that is credited for creating the Jordan rules, which is largely why he is on this list. Mahorn played extremely aggressive defensive basketball, and honestly, fouls and fights and getting in a player's head and getting in their psyche was all part of his plan and all part of his leadership. And that's a huge reason the
Yeah.
Pistons were such a good team. It's because they were just enforcers, and he was one of the main enforcers. So I've got to give my number four to bad boy Rick Mahorn.
Okay. Yeah. So
Moving on to three.
definitely. Yeah. Moving on to three. Give me a minute. Uh I'm going to go with Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley. Then, yeah, Charles Oakley. Obviously, I think he was a good player, but he was just he. I mean, people will say he's probably an enforcer, but I think he took the enforcing to a whole different level. And yeah, definitely everyone needs that enforcer on the team, but I just think he took it to a whole, whew, well, yeah, a whole different level to it, and giving up really nasty. If you watch his highlights, like some nasty things there. So
Yeah, no,
definitely number three up there.
that's a good no,
Definitely
that's a
number
good pick.
three.
He just missed my list because if you've seen some of his plays, he was a dirty player, and like in play, they would like he that was his style. That was what he did. He was the enforcer, but he took that a little too far. Another player that might have taken a little too far. My number three is Bruce Bowen. That is a key piece to several Spurs championship teams, but he is on this list because he would intentionally land under the feet of jump shooters and trip players up noticeably. And if there's one player that you can absolutely tell the fouls were intentional, it's Bruce Bowen. He was a dirty he was dirty, but he also was a key defensive piece to three Spurs championships. So as much as he was dirty, he was also an extremely key defensive piece, and his aggressiveness was a huge part of that. So my number three's got to be Bruce Bowen.
Definitely, definitely. I vibe with that. I vibe with that. My number two, uh, the Kimbe Mutombo. Um, if people didn't know this, he had committed injured almost 25 players, 25 plus players with his elbow. Like we're talking about like elbow. So that was bad. If you didn't know him, go check his highlight reels. You definitely know who he is. Um, number two all time on the dirty list. So that's my number two, and I'm just going to stop there because we don't want to go further than that. That's just nah.
That's a good pick. Yeah, watch his highlights. If you've never seen Matumbo play, watch his highlights. That's a player to watch. My number two, we've already heard him. He's a little higher up on my list. That's Draymond Green. He's on my list because his signature move, it's not a step back, it's a groin kick. That's his signature move is groin kicks. Stomping on players. I mean, dirty plays are a huge part of Draymond Green and what makes him so great. And even when he's not getting thrown out of games for it, he is still committing hard fouls. He is still getting in players' faces and doing extremely aggressive things to help. And it's helped the Warriors, I will say. Draymond Green, heart of the Warriors, definitely a huge part of that. So his aggressiveness is great, but sometimes he takes it a little too far, and that's why he's on this list for me. He's my number two. But number one, who do you got as your number one pick?
I'm hoping we both have this as our number one. Bill Lumber, Bill Lumber, the what we call human blocker, blocking humans. He wasn't blocking shots; he was blocking humor. So, I think we
Yeah,
all know him. Bad boy Pistons, obviously.
the
Um,
instigator.
yeah. So
Like that dude was starting all the fights. And even if he wasn't the one finishing them, that dude was starting. I mean, he is the dirtiest player. Bill Laimbeer, the dirtiest player in NBA history, and it is not even close. If you watch any documentary on the Pistons, the '80s, like you'll hear stories and see highlights of that dude doing things that if you saw that in the NBA now, people would be getting arrested out there. I mean, it is crazy the type of things that he was doing out there and starting. So Bill Laimbeer is comfortably number one all time. Let us know in the comments who is your top five dirtiest NBA players all time. And let us know in the comments what is the top five you guys want to see next episode because we want to hear you guys and what you guys want to see. And moving, oh, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Um, and that he has better clothes on. Yeah, that is fact. Lambeer absolutely had that. Yeah, he was throwing wrestling moves out. That's for sure. Well, that takes us to the end of Is that that's why? Yeah, that's why they sent us the super sticker just for that. That's
Top five hottest players next time. Yeah, that's weird. That's crazy.
you might have to send us a little more super sticker to cover that one. A few more super stickers and then maybe, but no. Well, that takes us to the end of another episode. Thank you guys so much. But this is not the only place where you can find both of us. David, tell us about your other project you work on.
Definitely, you know me. I'm all about sports. So I do have soccer precisely is number one. So I do have my own soccer podcast called My Node Fans Podcast. So with my guy Spy, we talk about all things Premier League football, or as you guys say here, soccer. So if you want to find me, I'm there. Jay, sorry, Montana, over to you.
And then for me, you can find me on the Connor and Heffernan Show YouTube channel. This week, we are doing a new episode on Saturday, the Connor and Heffernan Show. We talk all things sports, football, basketball, boxing, soccer. We talk everything. So check us out this Saturday on the Connor and Heffernan Show. And then also you can find Purple and Gold Zone. New episode will be dropping this week or next where we talk all things Laker ball. And that is also on the Connor and Heffernan channel. But that takes us to the end of another show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye.